Let's have a hand for Andy Mackensen and Sean Kelly from Snack Nation.
Thanks so much, guys. I'm
Yes.
super pumped up to be here and hanging out with you guys, especially since Hawke has just recently become a Snack Nation member. One of the hottest companies in town finally joining the Snack Nation circuit. Hey, Mac, what are we talking about today?
I thought we were talking about snacks. Is that what? Oh, no. We're talking about something else. I think we're talking about how to drive rapid B2B growth. Is that what you had on the docket?
Yeah, there's a lot of talk about snacks in there. Who here loves snacks? Right? All right, good. I like this audience already. So we're going to talk to you about what we do with snacks. And believe it or not, snacks is what we deliver. It's what we focus on. It's our passion, but it's not necessarily what we do. You see, our company is actually called Awesome Office, Inc. We help other offices, other businesses across the country become more awesome, build better cultures, have better leadership, and create atmospheres where people become the best versions of themselves. So here's a little bit of that story with some big tactical takeaways that we think you guys can utilize immediately to have positive impacts in your business. Is that cool? Rock and roll? All right, Matt, kick us. Where'd you get this photo? This is a good one. He always picks the photos where he looks handsome and I look like I'm like puzzled and like, you know, don't really know what's happening. You know what I mean?
I like to choose the photos where we're sitting in a green hand. That's the only one I like.
Absolutely.
I mean, this is the quick story of, you know, our background, how we got started, all that. My prior career, I was a United States naval officer. I did a couple of deployments over the Persian Gulf. My last deployment, I was working with a team of Navy SEALs and special warfare boat guys where we interdicted over 100 Al-Qaeda suspects, and that was right at the beginning of the war in 2003. Saw how important nutrition and healthy eating was to performance for a high caliber group of people, and also that aligned with my passion. So I knew that as soon as I got out of the Navy, I wanted to start something that was that had to deal with health, getting healthier foods in the hands of people.
I know the Navy doesn't say hoorah. What do they say?
They say hoo-yah.
Hoo-yah. Can we get a hoo-yah for this veteran right here? Can we get a hoo-yah? Hoo-yah, baby. All right, so my background, I studied biomedical engineering at Johns Hopkins in Columbia, thought I wanted to be a surgeon. And then I started to realize through that process that 70% of all disease that we deal with in America is preventable. So I started digging into food and realizing that food's really cool. It's not only something that's essential to who we become, and really there's nothing more impactful to us and to our lives and the quality that we experience than the food we eat. I also found out that food is the main tool to connect people, to build better relationships. So I was like, let's start focusing on food, and that's what led me to team up with this crazy guy right now.
Who's seen a box like this somewhere in an office? Okay, a handful of people. That's what the vending industry calls an honor box. Vending operators go drop the box off in the office. They put the snacks in. The employees put $1 or $1.25, whatever it is, in the box.
Right here. Here's the deposit area.
In the coin slot there. Vending operator comes back a week or 2 weeks later, checks on the status of the box, and that's been an easy way for vending operators to kind of get into smaller businesses. And so what we were doing before Snack Nation, we were placing healthy vending machines all across the United States. And when we were placing these machines in schools, hospitals, health clubs, we were also calling on businesses. And what we learned is that businesses that are smaller, 50 employees or less, vending companies don't want to touch those businesses. The cost of the machine is too high of there's too much of an ROI factor there, the time to recoup your money. So we said, well, hey, we're doing healthy vending machines all over the place. We're all about healthy food distribution. Let's try to put a twist on an old concept and start delivering these boxes to offices. But instead of the employees paying for the snacks, there's a new trend, which is perks and employers wanting to pay for those snacks themselves.
What a concept. Companies that take care of their people? What is this? Oh, it is 2017.
Exactly.
But you know, and the funny thing is, I didn't realize this, but we may have the godfather of Snack Nation. When we were running healthy vending machines, when we were running micro markets, we're like, hey, we have this idea to make the honor box a hell of a lot better. Let's throw something against the wall. Who could do it? We're like, there's one guy, a guy who we've worked with for 5 or 6 years who could make this happen. If you are the godfather of Snack Nation, could you please stand up? if you are the godfather. There he is, ladies and gentlemen.
Hold on,
stand up. This is the first guy that actually attacked Snack Nation. It was crazy because we actually had this other company that had 50 or 60 full-time employees, a network across the country. And because of what this guy started, we're now sitting here as Snack Nation with 150 team members in Culver City and creating a lot more impact. So can we get a round of applause for John Pinto right there?
And here's the lesson for all companies. We don't even have this on a slide where I'm talking about it, but ask the question, how can we disrupt ourselves? Someone else is going to do it, so we might as well do it ourselves. Johnny was the first entrepreneur that launched that, and we saw traction and we ran with it.
He's one of two Snack Nation members that's in the Snack Nation Hall of Fame. Pretty impressive. So actually, that's a lot about our story. Andy, what are we actually going to talk about? What are the takeaways today?
Well, considering we're talking about driving rapid B2B growth, we want to talk about how Snack Nation grew revenue 3,877% in the last 2.5 years.
It sounds better if you say 3,000.
Yeah, exactly.
Almost 4,000%. No,
so
you can round up. Can we say 4,000? 4,000%. 4,000%.
So we boiled it down to three main things: create a thriving culture, scale your sales and marketing, and of course, invest early in customer success. So that's what we're going to be talking about.
Absolutely, and create a thriving culture. I know. Do we have marketers in here? Who here is a marketer? Who here considers herself a salesperson? All right. Who in here works inside of human resources? We had a bunch of hands. We have one. We have one HR person. So you guys are right now saying, why are we talking about culture and HR? Because it's by far the most important thing. If you're marketers, if you're salespeople, if you have decision-making capacity in your company, what I'm going to talk to you first, we have found is actually the foundation. Even though a lot of people say we're a sales and marketing organization, I actually think our culture is what's the underlying reason of why we've been able to get to where we are today. So Entrepreneur Magazine, granted we had to bribe all these companies, but they rated us as one of the top company cultures in the United States of America. We've been ranked by LABJ as one of the best places to work in LA. Of all the other awards, of all the individual things, these are the things that we're pumped up about. These are the things that we're most fired up about because this comes back to what our employees say, how they feel, and how they're committed to our organization. Has anybody read this book, The Hard Thing About Hard Things? How many? So quite a few. By Ben Horowitz, legendary Silicon Valley investor. He talked about a story about the Go Corporation. Does anybody ever remember Go Corp? Did you ever hear that? Okay, a lot of young people in this room, but back in the early 90s, Go Corporation was one of the most heavily backed companies in the history of venture capital. Yet in 1994, it sold for almost nothing to AT&T. And even though this was a highly public failure, even though the people at GoCorp did not advance their careers and they made no money, they said it was the best experience of their lives, even looking back today. And why is that? Why would they say that after such a failure? Well, the reason is because Bill Campbell, the leader of that company, the late Bill Campbell, what he did is he laid a groundwork of empathy for their entire team. He actually encouraged his leaders to care more about others and the people that they led than themselves. And that foundation of empathy and compassion, these are some of the top tech titans now in all of Silicon Valley point back to as why that corporation was so amazing. And that's why Ben Horowitz in this book, that he talks about all these hard things, he says that being a good company is an end in itself, and that's the first thing that we need to do. And so Andy and I went out, and when we started Snack Nation, we said, you know what, yeah, this is about healthy snack delivery. It's about connecting amazing emerging brands, right, with their target consumer, providing insights, data analytics, marketing services. That's all cool, but at the end of the day, what's our core purpose? Our core purpose at Snack Nation isn't anything about snacks. It's actually to help people become better versions of themselves. And we believe if you help people become better versions of themselves, you're probably going to have a pretty damn good company. So how do you do this? How do you create an organization where people become the best versions of themselves? I had an amazing entrepreneur that I had the pleasure of having in my office yesterday at 4 o'clock. And she was talking to me how they've raised $17 million in funding. They have a 3-year runway, okay? This company's fantastic. They have an amazing product, proprietary technology. Like, they're checking all of the boxes. It's like, oh my gosh, there's no better place you could be than this company, right? Who would like to have 3 years of runway to do whatever you want, have an amazing amazing product with technology that's completely proprietary? I mean, it's a pretty damn good thing. But what was the thing that she was struggling with the most, and that was keeping her company back? It was people. People will always show up and people will always create the largest problems no matter what your company is if you don't know how to deal with them appropriately. So self-determination theory says that we need 3 things to become better versions of ourselves. It actually says that these are the only things, at the end of the day, these are the only things that will move the needle for you whatsoever in your life. Like actually move the needle. First and foremost, they say authenticity. Right? Understanding what your purpose is in life, being yourself in all moments, and just showing up and giving the world what you are made to do, and not worrying about what other people think. So authenticity. Number 2 is growth. You have to have confidence in where you spend most of your time. You got to feel like the path is greener down the road. And then lastly, and most importantly, is human connection. Is having phenomenal human relationships. Even though we are currently now in a society where loneliness is reported as the #1 reason for therapy, even though we are currently in a society where heroin and opiate use has increased 4-fold in the last decade, people care about relationships because what are all these things telling us? People are looking for artificial connection. They're seeking artificial connection, the feeling of connection, because they can't find it where they spend most of their time, and that's in their companies. If you create a culture where there's deep human connection and amazing, meaningful relationships, you have no idea where your company is going to go. And so just a couple of things in terms of how we create. Well, actually, you know what? You're like Snack Nation. What do you guys know? You're not Google. You're not a tech company. You guys are crazy. Has Sean been drinking this morning? The answer is yes. My name's Sean Patrick Kelly. I'm always drinking. But Google ran a research project, okay, and they codenamed it Project Aristotle. And what they found out is they looked at like 10 years of data, and they looked to find what are the commonalities between our company's best performing teams. They searched far and wide, right, deep and high. And what did they find? They found that there was only 2 commonalities. Only 2 commonalities, and these commonalities existed for every high-performing team. The first, the people amongst high-performing teams spoke roughly in the same proportion. They were able to share the air with one another. Secondarily, they had high social sensitivity. They were good at intuiting how other people felt, and as a result, reacting. They basically cared about other people. This is Google's study. This ain't just Snack Nation, all right? So now we got that proof. Now we get that proof. You're like, okay, now I'm listening. So what are the things that we do to create an amazing culture at Snack Nation? Because it's probably the thing that we focus on the most. It's definitely the thing that I spend most of my time thinking about. First and foremost, we hire for empathy. We hire for empathy. If you're going to have, and especially if you have any business interacting with somebody or managing somebody, empathy is the most important thing that we hire for. How do we do that? Well, first and foremost, we ask some tactical questions like, tell me about your proudest moment. Tell me about your proudest moment. If you ask that multiple times, tell me your proudest moment in your work career at your last company, and they consistently talk about one of their individual accomplishments, and they never talk about the impact on a team, they never mention the word team, they never bring other people in, that person will not be a good manager. I'm telling you, they will not be a good manager. Another thing, tell me about a time you had to deliver tough feedback. There's some people, it's like, oh, you know what? You hire slow, you fire fast. Firing's nothing, it's no big deal. Who in the world thinks firing is easy? The whole thing here is figuring out if these people can actually relate to others, right? So this is some things that we do to hire for empathy. Secondarily, we have a crush it call every Friday. All right, we call it a crush it call. People are like, what is crush? Do you crush people? That sounds like you're hitting them in the face. No, crushing means that we're recognizing somebody for an amazing achievement or activity that somebody saw them partake in that represents one of our company's core values. Andy, loved how you even though I didn't ask for it, I loved for how you assisted me with that presentation I had to give, even though I didn't ask for it, because you could tell how stressed out I was. You were serving and inspiring, one of our core values. So that's something we do every single afternoon, Friday at 4. The entire company comes together. We recognize each other publicly, and then we also state what we're most grateful for in life. Appreciation. This is a card. So every single week, I know for me, this has been one of the things that's actually created some of the most positive impact with the smallest amount of time, is I write 5 handwritten notes, at least 5 written hand notes every single week, to people who've experienced birthdays and anniversaries, or just important milestones in their life. And something that's really special that I just started doing, if you really want to surprise your team, when somebody does something amazing, like we have a value victor where somebody's rated the top company performer for a month, if you actually write a note to the spouse or significant other of that individual who won the award, telling them how much of a badass they are, and telling them thank you for your support because I know that you had something to do with this badassery, Watch what happens. It's a little thing, but it's showing appreciation. It's showing that you care about people. And then lastly, a big thing in meetings, in our leadership meetings especially, we don't allow cell phones. We typically don't allow computers. Because we found that when people have a space to not look at their phones, how many people are looking right now? To not look at their phones, what do? You actually connect. Hey, what's going on? We have 3 minutes. We have 3 minutes where we have to sit here with one another before the meeting starts. What do? It's amazing, right? Simon Sinek and Adam Grant, just again to add a little bit more to this, they said the number one most important thing in building a strong company and team is creating an empathic company, a company with deep empathy. And the number one way you do it is to remove cell phones and technology devices as much as you possibly can. So that's pretty interesting. And then if you get to this point, this is a foundation of great culture, you can then start working on the tactics and the strategy. Mackensen, can you take us away here, bud?
Absolutely. So if you can create a thriving culture like that, super high level across the organization, and then you start hammering away at some of these tactics, that's magic. So here's a picture of one of our first scoreboards. Johnny recognizes that too. This is when we first started our outbound sales. And we used to track it there on the board, and it's fun to reminisce because now we have about 60 sales reps, so we don't do it on a board like that. But the thing with outbound sales is you have to do it. So a lot of who here is we're all e-commerce companies, right? So it's a lot of inbound marketing. Does anyone have any outbound going right now? Any outbound sales? Okay, a couple hands, and I know Hawke is just starting up with that. So the majority of us are doing inbound. The great thing about outbound is it reduces risk. You spread your efforts on inbound and outbound, and if inbound has a bad month one month, you've got outbound to take over. So it's all about reps and sets to find the optimal pitch. You've got to try different price points, different different main ideas, benefits, and have your reps experiment with that and see what works. That's what it is right in the beginning, reps and sets. You got to hire your first rep and make that repeatable. And then after that, you have to create a repeatable list building process so you can continue to build, bring the data in, get the right people to talk to for your outbound process. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that repeatable process. And then the big thing is hiring reps 2 through 4 and making sure you can still repeat that process that you did with rep number 1. And if you can keep that process repeatable after rep number 4, then it's off to the races. It's time to scale. So.
And a quick aside there, just if you guys are an e-commerce company, doesn't mean you can't have inside sales. Backcountry.com, I don't know, they were doing like $300, $400, $500 million before they sold. 40% of their e-commerce revenue came from them having an inside sales team that basically called customers. I guess we could say that's customer success, but 40% of their revenue as an e-commerce company came from calling their best customers and asking them to order again.
Absolutely. So a little bit of the nuts and bolts of creating a repeatable list building process. This is how we do it at Snack Nation. We go into Zoom Info, we put in our filters. So let's say you're looking for companies that are 50 to 200 employees. You're looking for office managers or executive assistants as a job title. You're looking for a specific industry. So we know our top 100 industries and how they convert. So let's say you take a cross-section of that, take your top 10 industries. You put all those filters into Zoom Info. It pulls up the master list of who all those people are. We then have either SDRs, which is a sales development rep, or a VA, an outsourced VA, take that data, verify it on LinkedIn, because LinkedIn is the most up-to-date database that we know of out there. It's the most accurate. And then they enter their name in a program called Outreach.io, which is an email cadencing program that we use. And that's what sets the automatic cadence off for our SDRs. Our SDRs are expected to have 30 to 40 new companies per day that they're entering in outreach. They then go on a 10-touch sequence, which is approximately 5 emails and 5 phone calls over the course of 14 days. And this is an example of one of our, one of the first emails that goes out. Very non-salesy. It's just saying, hey, I know you're busy. Looking for the right person that handles snacks, and I have a big snack box to give to you. And we're seeing about a 40% open rate on that email and a 15% reply. So that's your lead gen right there for outbound. Metrics that matter that you want to be tracking. The main thing is number of opportunities and number of sales. Obviously, new MRR is important too. And then, so once you have opportunity sales and MRR for revenue, now you're just doing some ratios. What's the how much revenue are we bringing in per opportunity? How much are we bringing in per sale? What's the opportunity to sale conversion percentage? And then CAC. the acquisition cost. And by the way, when you have an outbound team, you've got salaries and commissions to pay, and that's got to be included in the CAC number. So for your inbound stuff, for us, it's moving the free line. What can Snack Nation give away that is the most valuable thing? Well, it's a sample of our snacks. So we put together a nice sample box, and we give it away for free. That's the main kind of what we call a lead magnet or a tripwire, some of these terms that are thrown around. And that's what we use for ours. Figure that out for your company. What is your product? What do people want? What can you give away for free? And that ends up being your front-end offer. So for us, we did things backwards. So if you look at the search term, it's office snacks. We invested heavily in SEO to begin with, writing very long 2,000-word plus blog posts. Google loves content. And we, you can see we've got the spot number 0, which is the snippet here. We've got spot number 1 there in the organic. And then found that converted really well. Office snacks is obviously what we do, so that keyword phrase converts well for us. And then we started paying for PPC up here in AdWords. You can see that ad up there. What I actually recommend for folks that are just getting started is do it the opposite way. Test your keywords in AdWords, and the ones that convert, then commit to writing the long content, because now you're going to get all of that real estate on page 1. And sometimes, I'll admit, we've written lots of great content, but it didn't convert well. It got lots of great traffic, but it didn't convert well to snacks. And so a little bit of a wasted effort there. So start with PPC first. So here's the reverse webinar system. Here's another thing that's been working for us very well. Define who your avatar is. So for us, I'll use an example. Office managers, we love to talk to office managers about snacks. So what we did is we sent a survey out to hundreds of office managers. They gave us information back about what they're making, how they're, what they think about their bosses, what they think about work. We took all of that data, we compiled it together into a really high value report, over 40 pages in a nice PDF. We then boiled down the top 5 points from that report, put it into a webinar, and then we used PPC to promote that webinar. And so the key thing for us on the B2B side is that once they register for that webinar, on the back end, on that thank you page, we have an offer for a free snack box. And so, yes, the value for us is getting attendees in the webinar and creating trust and authority through the amazing information we have in the webinar. But really, kind of the behind the scenes of that is we're generating marketing qualified leads for our sales reps to go talk about snacks with the people that attended the webinar. And we find that people that tend to like to get information and attend webinars, they're more open to providing benefits and value for their organization.
Mac, approximately how many leads did we get prior to our webinar that we ran yesterday? Before that webinar started.
Before the webinar, we generated about 500 marketing qualified leads.
And then after the webinar, as a result of that webinar, was 200. So those are people. There's also people on the back end is just showing 500 up front, 200 on the back end that needed some to be taught to understand that we're real, that we're not just slanging snacks, but we actually care about them.
And that 200 we actually is revised down to 100 because 100 of those people opted in twice. So we got new information. So that's where we get the 80% right here.
The point still stands.
Yeah. The point remains. Why is it called reverse? Because we're generating most of our sales leads before the webinar even happens. And then we're getting that extra 20% after the webinar. Okay, so direct mail. So what we found works is we have a software program that once we get that list, we talked about the list building process, we upload it, and then the software goes out on the internet, grabs a headshot from LinkedIn, grabs their first name, first name, last name, and company, puts it on the front of the box. So that's already, it's like, whoa, this is like a pattern interrupt. I've got to check out what's inside. It says surprise inside there. You open it up and it says, hey, I've got a big snack box with your name on it. Just go to this website, enter the code, and this is the website right here. So the key lesson here is have direct mail that's compelling, that's different, that stands out. You've got the A pile and the B pile. The A pile is what you want to open up. The B pile goes right in the trash. This postcard ends up in the A pile. And then the other thing is make sure your landing pages are incredibly congruent to your message. So we specifically chose to have the picture of the snack box, and what is the number one question in their mind when they enter that code on that website is like, Okay, how do I get my snack box? Well, here's how to get that snack box. So it's a congruent message all the way through. You want to talk about trade shows?
Inbound sales and marketing. Who here does trade shows? Ever? So one thing that we found is if that you're, let's say that we were at a, let's just say that we were at a trade show and we actually had a booth here. We're actually trying to sell all of you snacks. Oh wait, it really helps. It really helps to speak. It really helps to have somebody. I know Liza here is really in charge of our events. What's up? Everybody say, what's up, Liza? So Liza's in charge of our events and helping set them up and make them look great, right? When we partner with amazing companies like Hawke. But she's also responsible to some degree. I'm trying to book us for speaking engagements, right? So it's amazing when people come up and they say, okay, these guys kind of know what they talk about. They care about the audience. They're actually legit. The conversion goes through the roof versus just like showing up as a trade show and having a booth. So that's an easy thing. Always include an offer at the end of a presentation. Do we have an offer at the end of this presentation?
I don't know.
I don't know if we did. We may not. We may not. I'm not sure. But always have that. And then also, something that's really fun is if you ever speak, try to figure out ways to give something out. So for us, we can do little trivias, and we can actually ask somebody, hey, when was Snack Nation founded? What year? Guess what year Snack Nation was founded? Guess. What? Nope, not 2015. 2014? Who else can say 2014 because they're already a customer? 2014, you want a snack box. All right, so Liza, let's make sure we connect with him to get him a free snack box for his work, for his office. So, include little giveaways that are fun. The last time we did that up at the Culture Summit in San Francisco, we actually converted one customer that it now may actually lead to like 100 customer conversion because it's a huge company with all these offices. It's kind of cool.
I don't need to talk too much about co-marketing inserts. It's a common e-commerce thing to do and partner with other companies, but we've seen great success with partnering with other high affinity partners by putting in our inserts and even doing insert swaps. So no money's exchanging hands. We're putting ours in their boxes. They're putting theirs in our boxes. Another co-marketing tactic that works really well is find a high affinity email list. So that's an executive assistant list right there that we're promoting our webinar for. This is an office admin list. They have about 42,000 people on their list that send an email out on our behalf with a direct offer, special announcement, free snack box, and it goes right to our landing page to opt in for the free snack box. And then, of course, CRO, conversion rate optimization. So you do all this hard work of generating the traffic to your site. A lot of people forget about split testing and optimizing. So I have a question. Which page converted higher? This page or this page? So who thinks this page converted higher? Raise your hand. Okay, we got like 3. Who thinks this page converted higher? Well, at first, this page did, but then it wasn't too, we didn't run it to significance. It was at 80%, and we were about to kill it, and we kept running it, and then it flipped the other way. This page ended up killing it. 80% more leads came in on this page, but we're not done yet. With B2B, it's not all about leads. It's about how many sales opportunities, and then ultimately how many sales, and then ultimately how much revenue from those sales. So this page converted 80% higher marketing qualified leads and 15% higher revenue. So there's sometimes when you're doing conversion rate optimization on pages, you can kill it, it'll get way more leads, and it might just give you a tiny little uptick in revenue, and you have to make the call, do I want to send my sales reps that, like, double the amount of leads to only get a few more dollars in MRR? So you have to weigh time and opportunity costs of your sales reps as well when you're thinking about this. Oh, start an association.
Hey, I think you're taller than me. Why have you got the stage the whole time? It's so rude. Anyway, I was just kidding, but thank you, bud. So, what's Hawke doing right here, right? They're being thought leaders, right? Here they are as a marketing company that's serving so many customers just like you, and they're building thought leadership, right? Which is such an awesome thing to do. So one of the best things that every single one of us can do is either start an association. We started the Association of Workplace Engagement. Why do we do that? Because the reason that people care about perks, the reason that people care about snacks, the reason that people care about seeming like they care about their employees and then actually doing so is because they want to have a highly engaged and great culture. So we started an association of workplace engagement, and then we also launched a podcast. Just actually came out with our 100th episode. You guys can go to awesomeoffice.org. It's a show that's all about how to create better culture, become better leaders, and create an atmosphere where people become the best versions of themselves. So highly recommend you check it out, awesomeoffice.org. But that's just something that you guys can do, is not look at a podcast. Do not look at podcasts as lead gen. Look at it as thought leadership, right? And it's hard, especially if you're a direct response marketer, because you're going to put this time into producing and launching a podcast, and you're not going to see the lead flow that you want. But it pays dividends in so many other ways if you're actually seen as a thought leader in your particular space, which I think everybody should try to do, especially where we're headed in culture and society. And then also, this is the main question that we ask when we're looking at overall marketing strategy. It's an awesome, awesome book. This will take you I think an hour to read. But who do you want your customers to become? So how do you position yourself as a guide to your customer's aspiration? Again, our name is Awesome Office Inc. because that's the aspiration that we know that our decision makers and our customers want to have. And this is the same thing. If you ask, who do my customers want to become? Then you can position yourself as that guide, is it Frodo? Who's Lord of the Rings? I don't know who the guide is there. But as the guide that helps them get there along that journey, right? Remember, a big one here too, again, especially if you're like Andy and I, you've been trained in direct response marketing, Ryan Dice, Dan Kennedy, Frank Kern, all these guys. They're like, oh my gosh, brand's not that valuable. You can't track brand. But at a certain point, okay, and especially once you get into 8 figures of revenue, brand starts to become important. And brand starts to create a massive impact on decreasing your CAC. If over time you do not develop a brand, especially getting into 10, 20, $25 million and up, you're going to have an increasing cost of acquisition, not a decreasing, right? You actually want your brand to be ahead of your business, not your business ahead of your brand. Again, don't fall victim, the Mcnamara Fallacy. What does the Mcnamara Fallacy say? It says that things that can't be tracked don't exist. Do not think that way. You got to get yourself out of the mindset of a direct response kind of guy. Social content we know is key, and then brand is people. Get used to having the people in, whether it's you or other people on your team, represent your brand, because people want to write about people. They don't want to write about companies. And at the end of the day, what are companies? Nothing more than people, right? Tying it back into where we started today. I think we're almost done here. We're gonna end up on another metric slide, Mac Attack.
Yep. So I'm not gonna run through all of these. The main theme of all those metrics, and if you can take a screenshot if it's easier for you, but it's MQLs, marketing qualified leads, it's opportunities, and it's number of deals, right? And then the rest of that is we're just looking at what's the cost per MQL, cost per opportunity, cost per sale, and then also what is the MRR generated per MQL, opportunity, and sale. And then average first response time there, number 2 up above. Does anyone know what the half-life of a lead is? How many minutes is the half-life of a lead? Shout it out. Give a guess. I heard 0. I heard no one shout out.
I'm hearing a shy crowd.
Yeah. 12 minutes. I like that. That's about right. What we've seen is half-life of a lead is between.
Who said 12 minutes? Who said that? Liza, we need to get this guy a snack box.
So the lesson is that you need your reps need to call your leads as soon as they come in. Life happens. People forget they opted in. They go on to the next website. And so the first thing is tracking that. So being able to track what that time is. And then once you can track it, then you can report on it. And then you can work on bringing it down.
Mac, can you actually read this in his voice for us?
I wish. Yeah. If you could just pull those marketing metrics, that'd be great. Thanks.
That was the thing I was most looking forward to in this presentation. And then I think we're going to round it up, guys. Customer success. At the end of the day, especially if you run, how many people here run primarily recurring revenue businesses? Membership, subscriptions? Okay. So as you know in the beginning, new sales are far more important than member success because you don't have that many customers. But eventually, customer success and what you're doing in terms of your current customers, that's keeping them or upgrading them, becomes exponentially more important than your new revenue. Even if you're generating $50,000 in new sales, well, if you're at $1 million in MRR, right, that's a fraction of what we're talking about. All you need is 5% churn on that $1 million in MRR, and your new sales actually equate to nothing, right? So at the beginning, sales matters, but very soon thereafter, and Andy will take us through this, customer success is exponentially more important.
That's right. The quick points for us was we started ours when we were at about $40,000 MRR, and we found that to be too late. In fact, Johnny, the Sultan of Snack Nation right there, handed it over to me, and we already, at that point with 40K a month, we already had people that were canceling, we had operations issues, all of that was occurring, and we needed to get ahead of that way before 40K. So that's the lesson learned there. The benchmark is for every 2 million of ARR, you should have one customer success headcount. If you're growing faster, if you're growing 100% or more per year, then it's about 1 million in ARR. Don't wait till you're at 1 million. You gotta, like I said, you gotta get a few of those early, but over time it averages out to about that. And
we have about 10 minutes left for questions if you want to start.
Awesome, thank you. And then the last point is just the rule of thumb. You're going to want to spend about 10% of your revenue on maintaining that revenue in terms of customer success headcount.
If you have any questions, please raise your hand and the gentleman will come by with the microphone.
We do have an offer for you. So all you need, well, Andy, what do they need to do?
All you need to do is go to snacknation.com/free123. Opt on in, and we'll send you a free snack box. 15 of our most delicious snacks jam-packed in the box.
Absolutely. That right there, ladies and gentlemen, is a lot of magic in one small box. Who's got a question or anything? Yeah? What's happening?
You had an A/B testing page where there was a phone number on it. Did you guys happen to track that phone number, have it be a unique phone number so that when they called in or where they called in, it would be like a variable phone number so you could see what was going on with the data with that?
Yep, absolutely. So what we found for our specific market and our specific offer, we don't get a lot of phone calls on that phone number, but what we did a test of a page with the phone number and without the phone number. The one with the phone number one, it actually got higher online opt-ins because of the trust factor. At least that's what we think is the trust factor. I don't know.
Any other questions? Raise your hand.
Would you guys mind talking a little bit about the stack that you guys use for your inbound marketing and just kind of managing the whole customer flow? Not for the actual fulfillment, but just on the marketing side of it.
To talk about the inbound flow or what?
Yeah, the software and just kind of the suite that you're using for that.
Oh, the software suite? Yeah, the tech stack. So we use Unbounce for a lot of our landing pages. We use Marketo for our marketing automation. Salesforce is our CRM. Split testing, we use a combination of Visual Website Optimizer and Optimizely. What else? We use a cool software for sending emails out called Seventh Sense, and it's AI-driven emails. So what it does is, instead of doing if you're going to do a broadcast to your list and you say, hey, we're going to send something out at 6 a.m. and all the emails go out at 6 a.m., what Seventh Sense does is it looks at what the engagement of those people are across the day, and it kind of drips your emails out at the most opportune time based on when people have opened your emails in the past. So it'll increase open rate over time. Those are the main ones. I mean, pretty simple.
Anything else? No, we gave you too much information. We gave you all the answers. We just created at least 10 Snack Nation competitors. We gave them the whole. We gave them the whole game plan. We're gonna retire. This is our last presentation ever. We're done. But in all honesty, guys, feel free to reach out to us. Especially, I know some of you are shy in here. If it's about culture, building your team, especially around that, would love for you guys to check out the Awesome Office Show. I'm Sean, S-E-A-N. Never trust a man who spells his name S-H-A-W-N at snacknation.com. Andy's Andy at snacknation.com. You can follow us in these social media handles. You will be the first follower that I have that's not my family. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you, Andy and Sean. Folks, make sure you visit Snack Nation. We've been eating it for the last 2 days.